Prajnaparamita, or nondiscriminative wisdom. The activity of the non-inverted mind is characterized by freedom from the false distinction between self and other, and by the consequent interfusion of seer and seen, subject and object. Because it is established by eradicating the false discrimination, it is not mere perception, but also a mode of practice, and the wisdom or awakening that emerges in and through this seeing practice is called supreme bodhi, or enlightenment. The earliest Mahayana concept of such seeing is prajna, or wisdom, or more fully, Prajnaparamita, quote, wisdom that has attained the other shore, close quote. It is described in the Prajnaparamita Sutras, which begin to appear from about the 1st century of the Common Era, and which are considered the foundation of all Mahayana thought. The central theme of the Prajnaparamita Sutras is practice, that is, how the bodhisattva should perform prajna. Prajna, then, is at once wisdom and practice. The Heart Sutra begins, quote, when Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva was practicing deep Prajnaparamita, he clearly saw that the 5 aggregates are all empty, close quote. The 5 aggregates, or skandhas, refer to the basic elements that make up the self and all things in existence: form, or the material world, sensation, thought, feeling, and consciousness. Empty means that they do not really exist. The other Prajnaparamita Sutras similarly speak of practice and include lengthy catalogues of things and concepts to be seen as empty or actually non-existent. Sometimes the repetitiveness of these sutras is regarded as a stylistic failing, but they are not treatises meant to systematically develop a body of doctrine, but rather guides to practice, and practice is repetitive performance. Among the Prajnaparamita Sutras, the Prajnaparamita in 8,000 lines, the Diamond Sutra, and the Prajnaparamita in 25,000 lines are considered representative of the earliest strata. The Prajnaparamita in 8,000 lines, perhaps the oldest of these, employs expressions typical of Prajnaparamita thought, such as emptiness, not seeing, and not grasping, teaching that all things are empty, or ungraspable. This emptiness is the content of the Bodhisattva's performance of prajna, which is the contemplative practice of not seeing anything. Not to see anything means to cut off the dichotomous thinking, or vikalpa, that distinguishes things and makes them into objects standing apart from the self. And this is for all things that become objects of such thought to be empty and non-existent. The term empty, or sunya, strongly suggests an ontological dimension involving the question of existence or non-existence. But as the content of practice, it also holds clear implications concerning the working of the mind. The bodhisattva practicing prajna does not conceive or see or grasp anything, any object of thought or perception. This is because all things discriminated and identified by the egocentric mind are in reality, quote, empty or non-existent. For the bodhisattva, there is nothing, whether material existence or mental conception, to become the object of any act of perception, thought, or imagination. Empty is used to express the negation of things seen, and not seeing the negation of perception of delusive objects. That things do not exist and that the bodhisattva practicing prajna does not see or discriminate are 2 facets of a single reality. Emptiness and prajna, therefore, refer to the same reality or awareness. Thus, Nagarjuna, circa 150 to 250, who expounded Madhyamika thought, the first great school of Indian Mahayana, states that since all things that become objects in the field of mental activity are non-existent, no, quote, mental function that sees objects, close quote, arises. This is non-discrimination, or avikalpa, or nirvikalpa. Vasubandhu, circa 320 to 400, terms it, quote, no mind, or achitta. Emptiness signifies the eradication of all objects of thought and perception, and this is at the same time non-discrimination or non-seeing. The simple absence of objects in itself, however, is not wisdom. Rather, when all perception of objects is eliminated, wisdom arises. This is wisdom or awareness that functions when all objects set apart from the subject disappear, when objectifying thought ceases, and subject and object, seer and seen, become one. This wisdom is prajna, and the bodhisattva who practices it perceives things as they genuinely are. The wisdom that functions in emptiness is also termed non-discriminative wisdom, or nirvikalpa jnana. It arises when all mental activity, or discrimination, vikalpa, or mind, chitta, has been eradicated. Discriminative thinking and prajna therefore stand in a relation of mutual exclusion. What we perceive by discrimination does not really exist, but is merely conceptualization and abstraction. The awareness that has not seen any such objects as its fundamental nature, however, is able to touch and know the direct reality of each thing in itself. By practicing such awareness, the bodhisattva reaches true existence just as it is. Instead of seeing objects upon which to impose his own concepts and values, he is said to see suchness or thusness, tathata, which is each thing and being emerging just such as it is, in immediacy and particularity, but at the same time recognized to be non-existent. It is thus grasped not as some thing to be labeled or judged, but non-discriminatively, in its non-difference with all other things, including the enlightened seer. As we have just seen, emptiness signifies the non-existence of all objects of discriminative thinking, and, by extension, the cessation of discriminative thought and perception, that is, not seeing. This not seeing is prajna. Further, emptiness is also the content of the awareness of non-discriminative wisdom, or paramartha, highest object, or object of supreme wisdom. Hence, it is synonymous with suchness, or true reality. Emptiness, non-discriminative wisdom, and suchness all signify aspects of a single, non-dichotomous true reality. The mental faculties of an unenlightened person take as objects the self and the things of the world, all that is made up of forms, sensations, thoughts, feelings, and consciousness, the five aggregates. These may be labeled illusory discrimination. The mental faculties of the person of wisdom that arise where all such discrimination has been eradicated and all objects upon which dualistic thinking may be imposed have vanished is called non-discriminative wisdom, or prajna. The object of such wisdom is the emptiness of all things, which is things just as they are.